Today's travels have brought me to the Bennett Place, or Bennett House, in Durham, North Carolina. This is one of North Carolina's 27 state historic sites and is about 5 miles west-northwest of downtown Durham. Why is it important in the state's history? Well, at least in my eyes, it's where the American Civil War came to an end. For all who had sacrificed, 1861 to 1865, placed here by the National Society, Daughters of the Union. Let's go in. A Confederate battle flag. It reads, Goldsboro, Battery Wagner, 1863. The card says this is a reproduction of the flag carried by the 51st Regiment, North Carolina Infantry. I believe this is the actual table upon which the surrender documents were signed. They have quite a collection of artifacts. Some examples of Confederate currency. While most folks are familiar with Robert E. Lee's April 9, 1865, surrender of 28,000 troops at Appomattox, Virginia, one must keep in mind that here in North Carolina, General Joe Johnston's Army of Tennessee, with 90,000 troops, was still engaged against the Union Army under General Sherman. But the Confederacy was crumbling, eroding away with each passing day, and General Johnston knew it. Confederate President Jefferson Davis gave Johnston orders to fight on. But when General Lee surrendered at Appomattox, Johnston knew what was best for his men and the South. He began surrender negotiations with General Sherman on April 17th. However, that very same day, news of President Lincoln's assassination reached the two armies. Thankfully, Sherman was able to rein in his troops, and the peace talks continued. Finally, on 26 April 1865, the surrender document was signed. 90,000 Confederate troops laid down their arms, and the war was over. Here's something interesting: a witness tree. Using dendrochronology, or counting tree rings, it was determined this tree dates to 1863, which means it was present when the surrender was signed. A U.S. Army Cavalry bugle. The card says this is a United Confederate Veterans uniform. I did not know that some veterans had special uniforms made for attending reunions and other events. A beaver top hat with the insignia of the Grand Army of the Republic. Here's a prosthetic leg, once owned by Private J.T. Gregory of the 3rd Arkansas Infantry. Gregory lost his leg in May of 1864 during the Battle of the Wilderness. The plaque outside the Visitor Center reads, on April 17, 1865, Major General William Tecumseh Sherman and General Joseph Eggleston Johnston met on this section of the Raleigh to Hillsborough Road at the home of James and Nancy Bennett to negotiate a peace settlement to end the war. Staff officers, troopers, and news reporters accompanied them. They would meet 3 times over the next 9 days. Finally, on April 26, 1865, the surrender document was signed. The site has clearly depicted the original alignment of the old Raleigh-Hillsborough Road as it existed during the war. Over to the left is the Unity Monument, which reads, 100 feet east of this spot in the Bennett House, General Joseph E. Johnston and Major General William T. Sherman met at noon, April 17, 1865, to discuss the terms of a proposed surrender. They met in the house again on April 18th and wrote and signed a basis of agreement, under the terms of which General Johnston agreed to surrender all of the Confederate armies in the field. President Andrew Johnston rejected the terms agreed upon, sent orders to General Sherman on April 24 to give 48 hours notice and resume hostilities at the end of that time, and ordered General Grant to direct military movements. Basically, the president was furious with Sherman for his surrender terms. General Grant arrived in Raleigh on April 24, but out of consideration of General Sherman, he did not assume command. On the evening of April 25, General Johnston asked another interview with General Sherman to renew negotiations. And on the 26th at 2 p.m., the generals met a third time at the Bennett House and signed the terms of a military convention under which 36,817 Confederate soldiers in North Carolina and 52,453 in Georgia and Florida laid down their arms. This monument thus marks the spot where the military force of the United States of America finally triumphed and established as inviolate the principle of an indissoluble union. It marks also the spot of the last stand of the Confederacy in maintaining its ideal of indestructible states, an ideal which preserved to the American Union by virtue of the heroic fight grows in strength from year to year. I enter the house through the back door. A bedroom with a weaving loom, another bedroom, into the front parlor, and the desk where the surrender took place. It turns out that this is not the original Bennett house. The home burned down in 1921, leaving only the home's chimney. It wasn't until the 1960s that this structure was found nearby, nearly identical to the old Bennett home. It was disassembled and rebuilt here on the footprint of the original home, using the original Bennett chimney. Behind the home is the family's smokehouse, a common feature of homesteads of the time period, used to cure hams and other meats for preservation, since refrigerators had not yet been invented. To the right is the kitchen house, where meals were cooked and prepared. Separate kitchens were also a common practice at the time, as kitchens were prone to burning down, leaving families without a home. This way, if the kitchen burned, the family would still have a place to live. This is the family's dairy shed. I love the way the snake rail fence frames the path of the original Raleigh-Hillsborough Road. The Bennett place is indeed a significant piece of North Carolina and Civil War history. While General Lee's surrender at Appomattox is perhaps better known, it was the surrender of General Johnston here at the Bennett place that resulted in an army that was 3 times the size of Lee's, laying down their arms and truly brought the American Civil War to an end. I hope you enjoyed that, Explorer. Until the next time, remember, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, and thanks for watching.